Hello, this is the demo video for the H2 Work Cycle 3 Sprint 1 and includes work that was been completed from May 10th, the start of Sprint 0, until today, which is May the 26th, 2021. So the first thing I want to show you are a few updates on the dashboard. We have updated the terms of deposit, so we're now on version 15. This most recent version includes really only some fairly minor changes in wording and updated links maybe. And so that's now updated here in this modal as are the content that's available from the save and the print links. So that's our terms of deposit update. We've also updated the dashboard so that users only see the content that they've created. So previously, the 4 most recent objects would appear for every collection, regardless of who the depositor was. So now if you are just a depositor in a collection, you will only see your own works displayed here and on the full list of deposits that you can access through this link here. Another change is that depositors were seeing these pencil icons next to each of the collections, which is the link that allows you to edit the collections. They were seeing those icons all the time. And now users will only see those icons when they have permission to edit those collections. The last thing I want to point out to you are some updates strictly for administrators of the application. So the first is that a new search has been added that allows administrators to search all of the objects deposited through the self-deposit application by Druid. Another thing is that we have this huge all collections table, and the team has added the ability for us to expand and collapse this table, which is super helpful because it takes up a lot of scrolling real estate if you don't need to see it. And the third thing that was added is that now for any of these collections where the collection object itself is in a draft state, they've added this nice text here, notation behind the title of the collection to let us know that that collection is in a draft state. Okay, so let's go to a collection. So this is the 1,000,000th collection, and now when you are editing both collections and items, we've changed how the required fields are indicated. So in our user testing, several users had difficulty understanding which things were required for them to do and which were not. So we have now changed this so that required fields are noted with an asterisk, which is fairly standard for web forms, and hope that that is a bit clearer for people. The other thing I wanted to note here was that in the past, if you had copied and pasted in a long list of student IDs, say you have a class of students and you have 30 people that you're going to add them all at one time, if you pasted that in here and you happen to have a duplicate entry, then it caused some sort of erroring and problems with saving this, but the user wasn't alerted at all to what the problem was, and so it was really a confusing state of affairs when you had duplicate entries. Now, and this is, I think, really great, if you happen to enter duplicates, it detects that you have duplicates and just deletes the duplicate and just smoothly, seamlessly saves it for you in the correct state. So that's one of my favorite new features this time around. So let's try depositing a new item to this collection. One of the things that's changed here is we have this long list of subtypes that are available, and previously they were in alphabetical order and they read from left to right and then down the page. And we've switched that up so that they now read alphabetically down the column first and then across, which I think is much more typical for how information like this is presented. So you'll note here, this is the item deposit form that, again, we have all the required fields noted with asterisks. And a couple things happened with the contact email field. So actually this is something that we require, but it wasn't being required by the application. So you could leave this blank and submit a deposit. And we are now requiring that this be filled in. We've also expanded the types of of formatting for the email addresses. So before it wasn't allowing capital letters in the email address, and it wasn't allowing emails like lists.stanford.edu that had multiple periods in that second part of the email. So you couldn't use a list address, which is frequently appropriate for student collections and departmental works and things like this. And this was a real email address that was entered into one of the collections and was not validating. So we've expanded what's available for entry for email addresses. Another thing that we did was, based on the user testing, we noticed that people tended to come here and then put a month or a day here and then look at these fields and realize, oh, this must have been the year, because this was just a blank field until you clicked on the arrows. So we now have placeholder text in these fields that says year, that we hope makes it a little clearer up front about what's required. Another thing that we've done is to add a validation that requires there actually be 2 dates in the date range field. So you can't just enter a starting date and not an ending date. So that has been fixed, and I will show you that validation in just a minute. One of the biggest changes this time around is to the keyword entry. So in the existing self-deposit application that's in production right now, keywords are entered as a string of words separated by commas, like this, and then you just proceed to the next field. The way we set it up originally here in H2 was that each word would be entered, would be typed in, and then you'd hit enter, and it would accept that word. Essentially, it would have a little X by it that you could delete it, and then you would repeat that procedure in that same single box for each keyword. User testing revealed to us that this method does not work for anyone, and so we have changed this so that this parallels the other multi-entry fields that we have on this form. So here you enter one term, and then you click the plus, add another keyword box, and you add additional terms that way. And we hope that that is much clearer to our users. Let's see, one other thing that was suggested to us in user testing was that link title was really kind of confusing, and people didn't really understand what should be in this box, and that link text was more of the standard way to refer to this, and so we have updated that as well. There was another bug with the embargo date, so that if someone chose an embargo date here, the default citation was properly updating to use that embargo date as the publication date for the object. But if they changed their mind and decided they didn't want to use the embargo and didn't delete this, it was not changing that. It was leaving it at 2023. So now we've fixed that bug so that this returns to the proper date for the citation field to exclude that embargo. And one other thing that we've done is, so previously when you clicked on deposit, the validations would run, and then it would just sit here in this spot if there were problems and the user wasn't sure if anything had happened or where there might be problems. So now what happens is the page will scroll back up to where the first error is on the page, so that it's clear to the user that something did happen, and they're immediately presented with a problem that needs to be fixed. So here, this is our date range issue that we're validating, and then we can deposit this. Another thing that we've added are these interstitial pages that the user will see when they have deposited an item or submitted an item for review. So we found that users were frequently unclear about what they could do while the little deposit icons were spinning and that sort of thing. So we now tell them, your deposit's making your way through our system. You'll get an email. You can edit this work when that is complete, and you can continue using this application to do other things in the meantime. So if we go back to our deposits list, that one's actually, this is the one I just did, it's already finished. So there's a slightly different but similar interstitial page that appears for deposits that have been submitted for review. So another thing that we've done is, for an item like this that's in draft state, if someone wanted to deposit this, it was not clear to a number of the users who did testing for us how to deposit a draft item. So for objects that are in draft states, we've now added this button here that says edit or deposit. This actually does the same thing as the pencil button, but we hope is clearer for people, especially those who are looking to deposit now, to help them get back to where they need to be. Another thing that happened was that if you were ready to deposit an object and the only thing missing was this what's changing element, when you went to deposit that, it would highlight this box in red, but that wasn't really enough information to let people know that this needed to be filled in. It's that red outline sort of blends into this red box. So we've added an error message here that says you must describe your changes. And in addition, as you saw, the page now scrolls back up to where this error is. So again, we hope this is a lot clearer for people regarding, what's going on with the collection. A couple of other small things that we've done that I want to show you. One was that we had a sort of placeholder text here for the use and reproduction statement, and we've now corrected that, and the appropriate use and reproduction statement now displays. The other is that we now are displaying appropriate licenses on the Perl pages. So the current application only supports Creative Commons licenses and Open Data Commons licenses. And we've added a lot more options into H2, but there had to be some further changes in the back end made and to the Perl pages in order for them to be able to display all of these new licenses. And that is now the case, I'm happy to say. So this is excellent news. The other thing I wanted to show you was that some information has been added to our Honey Badger alerts. So sometimes when errors are triggered within the application, we get these alerts from the Honey Badger system. And the infrastructure team has added user email information into this context so that the service manager can immediately see who it is having problems with the application and can contact them directly to find out what's going on and how they can help them complete the work that they're trying to do. So that is a whole lot of work for the last 2.5 weeks, and I will see you again next time for the next Sprint demo video. Thank you.